Well, thank you, Dan. It's good to be here. And I can tell you that I'm jacked. I'm jacked about junior golf. I'm jacked about where this industry is headed. I'm jacked about the fact that this state, the state of Colorado, has the foresight to bring together multiple associations for the common good of golf. And I think what you're doing here today is certainly evident that it is a step in the right direction. The speakers today have been phenomenal. I appreciate those that have organized this event and again, who have taken the initiative to bring together multiple associations for a common good. I think, again, what's going on here in the state of Colorado needs to be replicated in a lot of other states as we try to combat some of the headwinds that we're all faced with in this industry. I love being here as well, as Dottie mentioned and others. The Broadmoor is a terrific venue. It's a terrific state. I've actually looked back on my calendar and I think this is my fourth time being to Colorado in the last 8 months or so. I was able to attend the Women's Golf Association meeting and was able to address them some months ago. We had our GCSAA board meeting here where we were able to meet with our Rocky Mountain chapter who is doing tremendous work in this area. And then I was fortunate enough to be here for your centennial celebration and to be able to witness the awards and that ceremony of some individuals that have done Omen's work here in the state over the past decades. The other reason I like coming to Colorado is the fact that it reminds me of my hometown, Prescott, Arizona. While we don't have quite as many people as Colorado Springs, the terrain is very similar. We're at about 5,500 feet elevation, so we're out of the Valley of the Sun and we get to experience the different climates and get to experience wildlife and different elements that I certainly enjoy and love being in the outdoors. Today, I'm also jacked about talking about the topic of teamwork. And I know that sometimes when you hear that, you automatically start thinking about all of the little quotes that you see on calendars and, you know, there's no I in team and okay, we're going to hear the same thing over and over again. And so at times it may seem that we're almost immune to the topic of teamwork, that it's overused, overplayed. But yet, when we really get down to it, when we think about the necessity of teamwork and building those teams, especially in this business, it is paramount. So hopefully today, as we go through and we talk about teamwork and certainly the definition of it, which is up here, that I loved to see the word working collaboratively. That is the key to this industry and the key to success, I believe, going forward. I grew up with a father who was a biologist, and so if you'd bear with me today, I'm going to take some lessons that he taught me growing up about teamwork through, one, the animal kingdom. The second one will be as it relates to basketball. I had the opportunity to work for the Utah Jazz for many years and then did some work with the Chicago Cubs, so I've been around sports a little bit, and I think there's some insight that we can certainly gain from those sports, as well as certainly our profession and our game of golf. So I'm going to go through those three areas, and hopefully we'll be able to pull out a few lessons in and around teamwork. So the first, let's start with the animal kingdom. Again, having a father who was a biologist, we could not go on a family vacation, or for that matter, I couldn't even go to church without him driving like this, looking for a deer, a raccoon, some form of living organism that he could then relate to me all of the facts about that particular item. And when I was a youth and a youngster with my brother and 4 other sisters, we would sit in the back and roll our eyes and say, "Yes, Dad. Yes, Dad, we know. We know, Dad, that orcas are found in all the world's oceans. Yes, Dad, we know that killer whales can swim up to 30 miles an hour. Yes, Dad, we know that each whale has a role in the pod. We know that they have to move in a coordinated way and communicate in a certain way to make decisions in order to survive and in order to hunt. And now that I'm older and I think about those lessons, and I think about, in particular, killer whales and the lessons that we can learn from them on how to survive, are relevant to what we're doing here today. This is what you call, and again, I learned this from my dad, the wave watch. It works on seals, obviously. Killer whales have devised a very clever way in which to dump the seals into the water. They charge the ice in a tight formation, creating a huge wave. Just before reaching the ice, they dive underneath, giving a last second push to the wave with their tails. The resulting wall of water crashes over the ice, sending the seal to the dinner table. I think you've all probably seen this on National Geographic. But when you think about this method and you think about teamwork, it could not be done with just a single whale. It takes the entire pod communicating, working together for a common goal. When we look at the lesson that I learned from that, and one that I hope you take away, is number one, energy focused on a common purpose produces results. And so I would encourage you not just to think about killer whales in this case, but to think about where you're at in your profession and your career. We have individuals here that are superintendents running facilities. We have PGA professionals. We have general managers. We have professional golfers, analysts. We have association executives, et cetera, et cetera. And so whatever your role is, please think about what you can do or what you should be doing to focus your energy on a common result. Next, the wolf. We would go to Yellowstone on a family vacation and talk about the animals there. At the time, the wolves were struggling, obviously. They've been reintroduced, and my dad would talk a little bit about what he knew about them and the fact that they run in packs of 6 to 18 wolves. They are very patient. They are tenacious. They have unity. They communicate. They have loyalty. And he'd also taught that wolves that stay in a pack will live up to 8 years versus a lone wolf that leaves the pack, leaves the safety of the pack, may only survive 2 to 4 years. Think about that lesson in teamwork. Think about that lesson in business. That those groups that stay together, that are unified, will have a longer lifespan. We will be more sustainable economically, environmentally, etc. When it comes to their hunting practices, similar to the killer whale, a lone wolf is not going to be able to take down a bison. A lone wolf has to become a scavenger. They have to work off of scraps versus a pack, a group of individuals, a group unified and galvanized together, such as the golf industry. We can tackle bigger problems together, whether that be diversity, whether that be player development, or whether that be environmental concerns. If we're trying to do it alone, it will not work. It will take way too long, and we will be left in the dust. Player development is not just a PGA of America issue. It is all of our issues. Environmental concerns are not just for the superintendent to figure out. They are all of our concerns. When we work together as a pack, there's strength in numbers, and it will make a difference. Lastly, I know we're all familiar here in Colorado with geese. We have them out there currently on the pond. I know that they can oftentimes be a nuisance as well, but there's lots of lessons to be learned from geese. We know that they fly together, that when they do so, they're more efficient. They provide additional lift to those geese that are behind them. Geese rotate that leadership. When one gets tired, another goose moves in its place. They honk, they communicate, they motivate each other. And ultimately, they are able to, as they work together, go further, faster. hopefully you're seeing a theme here as it relates to the animal kingdom and what we should be doing in golf. So lesson number 2, you will achieve more as a result of working with others than alone. I love what was said, and I think Eddie sent me an email come flying here yesterday, and I loved what he said in it, that we're looking forward to having you here as we all check our egos and our brands in at the door, and that we're going to sit in this room and hopefully we're going to walk out more unified and more collaborative in our approach. So I firmly believe that all of us can achieve more as a result of working together than working alone. Let's move on to basketball. As you can see by my height, I am not a basketball player, but I do love the game. I graduated with my master's degree in 1994 in sports management and went into professional sports. I was hired by a man by the name of Larry Miller, who owned the Utah Jazz. The opportunity to work with that group of entrepreneurs that ended up building the Delta Center, building other facilities for other sports teams, for baseball, etc. And I learned a lot of life lessons, and I learned a lot of lessons about teamwork firsthand as I got to witness professional athletes come together for a common purpose in winning championships and winning games. 2 of those individuals were Karl Malone and John Stockton. So we're going to go back in time a little bit. I know now we're talking about Kobe and we're talking about LeBron, but I want to go back to the late 90s and talk about 2 individuals that, again, I got to witness personally their synergy, how they connected. You don't see too often in sports now, especially in team sports, a superstar or 2 superstars taking on that same role as a leader of the team. It's usually dominated to one or the other. In this particular case, both of them assumed that role.
The Utah Jazz select John Stockton of Gonzaga University. The Utah Jazz select Karl Malone of Louisiana Tech.
Although they seemed an unlikely duo, they actually have quite a lot in common. Arriving from small, unheralded schools, they would both redefine their positions in the NBA.
John Stockton, pure point guard, great decision maker, the artist, the finesse. He has the imagination. For him, it's a dance. It's an art.
Stockton all the way. Stockton the hoop. Traylor.
On the other hand, Karl Malone is the rough, tough, hard-hitting super athlete. Great body, great hands, and a great will to win.
Down the middle, the mailman. Oh, baby, what a power play.
And though they were great by themselves, together they were unstoppable, forging one of sport's more devastating duos.
Stockton in a hurry. Trying the fast break to perfection. Underneath the ball. Oh, baby, what a play by Stockton. Stolen by Stockton. Stock everywhere. John front court left. Traylor to Malone. He's there. Oh, baby.
You throw crazy passes and he catches them. People say, wow, he must know what he's thinking.
Stock down the middle. Lights out Malone. He's there. The mailman.
We're sort of Siamese twins, so to speak.
Stockton. Traylor Malone.
Oh, they've done that a time or 2.
Those 2 guys, Stockton and Malone, they've connected. They've connected here. It's nothing better than that when you can step on the floor and you don't have to say a word to a guy.
Those 2 men really have ESP on the basketball floor.
I don't think any other 2 players on the same team have connected like these guys have.
And not only do they share an enduring bond, but also a common philosophy.
I look at us every night as warriors, and we're going out to fight a battle. There's no doubt in my mind what he's thinking. And I don't think it's any doubt in his mind what I'm thinking. We'll get on that court, and that's to win.
No good. Rebound, Stockton. Ahead to Carvalho. He's got it. Stockton to Malone. He scores. Incredible.
Though a title has eluded them, what is perhaps more meaningful is that they've been able to take the journey together.
A lot of things have happened with the two of us, and it's nice to experience those things with a good friend that you put your whole life into with. We won and lost a lot of games together. We've been through a lot together, and really wouldn't change anything.
That's a dynamic duo again of Stockton and Malone.
And as a result, they've developed a relationship they will treasure for the rest of their lives.
When we're gone from this game of basketball, I think when you mention one, you're going to mention the other one. And if we happen to go to the Hall of Fame one day, they probably try to get us both there together. And I think it's great.
I hope that whatever happens to us after we're done playing, I hope that there's a lot of times for Stockton-Malone combination to get together again.
A common bond and a common philosophy. Do we have that in this room? Is the PGA, and the GCSAA, and the CMAA, and the architects, and the owners, the golf associations, etc., do we have a common bond? Do we have a common vision? I don't necessarily know that we need to be Siamese twins because we all do have different roles and responsibilities. We have different brands and different things and initiatives by the sheer nature of who we are. But there are underlining common themes to success in this game, and we must, as chapters, as states, as a national associations, figure that out. I think, again, the lessons that we learned from Carl and John are relevant. John was a very fast, gritty, durable player. He saw the floor really as good as anyone in the game. He was known for his assists. In fact, he broke and holds the all-time leading assist record of 15,806. I was there the night that he did that, and I can tell you, again, another characteristic, trait of a leader is unselfishness, is somebody that is willing to figure out how to do plays, how to master the pick and roll, how to be unselfish on the floor to where the team could do what they did in 1997 and 1998 as they went to the NBA Finals. Unfortunately, the verdict wasn't what we wanted it to be. But again, another life lesson that you can put in a lot of effort and a lot of work, and ultimately they were not afforded the national championship. But as we listened to John and Carl and talk about that, they said, everything will not always go your way. There will be both losses and wins. If you give everything your best shot and learn the lessons along the way, you will come out a winner. We're not always going to get it right in this business. We're going to have some initiatives that fail. We're going to take some risks that do not produce results. But I think if we're pressing forward and attempting, we're on the right track. Lesson number 3, responsibility is shared. There's not just one entity in this room that needs to take the responsibility for all of the success or failure that will go on here in the state of Colorado. During that same time, I got the opportunity to witness another great team, a dynasty. Those of you that followed basketball during this era know that Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and you came to either love or hate Dennis Rodman were unique. The fact that they won 6 titles in 8 years is amazing. How did they do it? A lot of us, if I were to ask that question, would answer, well, they had Michael Jordan. Even the most talented basketball player, however, in the world, and he was, and probably still is, cannot win championships alone. What many people now overlook is the fact that Jordan played in the NBA for 7 seasons before winning his first title. Some even doubted he would ever win. It wasn't until the right collection of players, along with the appropriate coach, and Phil Jackson, guided them. Once they assembled that team in the windy city of Chicago, that dynasty began to take shape. 6 trips to the NBA Finals and 6 championships. In one of the highest scoring games, well, let's listen to this.
Fake left, go right. He's there. Lay it up, score it easily. Wow. Stockton inside of Carmelo. They double it. Jordan knocks it away from him. Jordan's got it. The Bulls can win it right here. The Bulls can win it. Unbelievable.
16 seconds left. Bulls down 1. Michael against Russell. 12 seconds. 11, 10. Jordan a drive. Hangs. Fires. Yes! He scores! The Bulls lead 87-86 with 5 2/10 left. And now they're one stop away. Oh my goodness.
Russell comes into Stockton. Stockton 4 seconds. Stockton at 3 up out front. Trimming. No. Ball kicked away. Chicago is world champions once more. The Chicago Bulls have won their 6th NBA championship in the last 8 years.
To the Chicago Bulls, the 1998 NBA champion, and a team for the ages. Congratulations.
I was on the floor that night, and I can tell you, having stood on the top of Kilimanjaro at over 19,000 feet where the oxygen is a little thin, the air in that arena at that time was thinner. It was just devastating to watch that team take down Carl and John and everything that they were trying to do to win that championship. But again, I think the lesson to be learned here in terms of the Chicago Bulls and what they were able to put together, and what I said right before the video was this, that in one of the highest scoring games of Michael Jordan's career, where he scored 63 points in one game and set a playoff record, the team lost to the Baltimore or the Boston Celtics. And so it really wasn't until they came together with a unified purpose and knew each other's roles. Obviously, Rodman to rebound and Pippen to set up Jordan, and then Jordan to work his magic. So let's now bring it back to golf. Let's bring it into this room. Let's look at this diagram that I think ultimately we need to aspire to. But before I do that, I'll leave you with lesson number 4. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. That's ultimately what we're striving to get to. When you look at the bottom left-hand corner, you see that we can have a collection of individuals. I could put each one of your logos up there right now. I could put the GCSA, the PGA, the USGA, the LPGA, the Colorado Women's Golf Association, et cetera, et cetera. We all represent a collection, a group of individuals. However, if you go up to the top, if we are sitting in that particular box, we're going to lack common purpose. We're going to not necessarily share responsibility. We need to move up the spectrum. We need to start coming together collectively. As we do that, we become a little higher performing. We end up starting to share information, starting to share that responsibility, to take notice of what one another is trying to accomplish. As we continue to move up, and we lost, there we go. We start to share now that responsibility. We're committed to a purpose. We actually have identified where are we wanting to go. This morning, the Junior Golf Initiative, groups coming together with a common purpose, and not just one entity, but multiple entities coming together with a common purpose. They start to form a great cohesive circle. But ultimately where we need to be is up at the top, where the Michael Jordans, the Chicago Bulls, the Utah Jazz, Orcas, Wolves, etc., where they reside, where they are unified, galvanized together to where the energy is focused on a common purpose. They have a shared vision, and ultimately the sum is greater than the whole of the parts. So, if you're taking notes, I guess I got to keep pointing this thing this way. Energy focused on a common purpose, responsibility must be shared, and the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. The future of golf depends on us getting this right. Some of you may say, you know what, I don't know what he's talking about. We're doing a pretty decent job. But I'm here to tell you from my perch, and as I travel around this country and as I travel around this globe, we have some headwinds in front of us. David with the NGF and Rand will talk here after lunch about sustainability, environmental concerns. We have a lot of things that we need to deal with collectively. I'm going to list, and I'm going to blow through this because I know I'm standing between you and lunch, but I could really put together almost 6 or 7 slides of current issues. I'm going to only share 3 slides with you, and I'm going to run through a list of things that are currently happening as we speak. Right now, the EPA is debating the Waters of the U.S. rule. It's currently in litigation. This rule can have a dramatic effect on how we operate facilities in terms of our permitting requirements, how we handle and manage water, and the cost of doing business. We have the Americans with Disability Act in terms of single-rider golf cart issues we're dealing with. We have the EPA Agricultural Worker Protection Act. We have the White House Pollinator Health Task Force going on that is targeting golf in terms of killing bees. We have agricultural work protection standards that affect the way that we do business. We have the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative that can affect the way that we apply pesticides and fertilizers. We have the lack of diversity in this game. We have, and I appreciate Dan's comments in terms of labor. I know here in this state we have a challenge even here at this very facility in terms of getting seasonal work permits or through the H-2B visa program. We have comprehensive immigration reform. We have the Colorado SB 15119 Colorado Pesticide Applicators Act that Jennifer spoke about. We have drought. We have water quality and water quantity issues. We have disaster tax relief legislation. We have the Gulf of Mexico hypoxia zone cleanup and lawsuits. We have overtime pay. We have player development issues. We have conservation easement issues, Small Business Regulatory Reform Act. We have the Save Americans Workers Act, consumer and cultural behaviors such as dealing with millennials. We have a continued supply of golf courses. Since 2006 to today, we've closed 666 golf courses. We have the rising costs for labor, for water, for other inputs. We have a shrinking labor pool. We have a negative perception of golf. We still, to this very day, remain on the sin list. Some of you may not know what that list is, but I've seen it firsthand. I've been in the executive offices in the White House. I've talked to individuals that have shown me where this resides. The fact that during the Ford administration, we were lumped in with massage parlors, tanning salons, gambling establishments, and I think massage parlors, and then golf. To this day, the We Are Golf Coalition and others have been fighting to get our names removed from that list so that when these items that you see that I just shared, when it comes to disaster tax legislation, when it comes to recognizing golf as a small business in a community, that we are not lumped in with those types of establishments. So, lessons in teamwork from golf. How are we doing with that list? What are some things that we can do going forward? When you look at the U.S. golf industry, it is large in terms of its associations, in terms of its representation. I don't have everyone's logos up on this screen. It would probably fill the screen in terms of everyone that is working or doing some form or fashion in this game. But I can tell you that when we look at our individual roles. They are distinct. There is a need for individuals to take responsibility for their particular area of focus. But how are we doing when it comes to actually galvanizing and sharing those initiatives and getting everyone on the same page? Well, the U.S. golf industries, if you will, sat down, and obviously the ones that produce major events, the USGA, the PGA Tour, PGA of America with the PGA Championship, the Masters at Augusta, looked at, and we did as a Golf 2020 board, and said, we've got way too many flavors. We're not Baskin-Robbins. We don't need 31 different flavors of initiatives. We've got to be more focused, and we've got to concentrate on a few things, and we've done just that. And so there's 7 key initiatives that those national organizations are supporting. The first tee, drive, chip, and putt, get golf ready, We Are Golf, PGA Junior Golf Leagues, the LPGA and the USGA Girls Golf, and then sustainability. So these are our areas of focus. And it's not to say that there's other initiatives and other things that are going on, maybe possibly at a local level, that are bad. But we realize that we cannot be all things to all people all the time. We've got to be more forthright with our key initiatives. And I'm going to talk for a moment here in a minute about a few of these in particular with the remaining time that I have. But how are you doing? And I'm not going to go into your initiatives here in the state. But I think, again, if you ponder for a moment where you sit and what your role is in this room, you should be looking yourself in the mirror and asking, how are we doing? How are we doing as a state? Are we communicating with one another? Are we on the same page with our initiatives? Do we have those same common goals, and what can we do to galvanize those together? And here's why this is important. I appreciate Jennifer's comments because I'm going to spend just my remaining time talking about advocacy. I think when I look at, obviously, those challenges that were on that list, which were pretty immense and pretty arduous, a lot of them you can group together. But the majority of those that I'm dealing with and that we should be dealing with is in and around advocacy, in and around protecting our game and our sport, so that when we do bring millennials in and when we do get junior golfers to pick up sticks and put a peg in the ground, we have a venue for them to play at. It's paramount. That is our product. If we're not protecting our product, all the things that we're doing in player development and everything else will not matter if we do not have a facility for them to play at. And so it doesn't take a politician, it doesn't take somebody that's a civic-minded person to understand the complexities of what are going on in our country currently. When you go back to your high school civics days and think about what you learned in school in terms of the 3 branches of government, dealing with the executive branch, and we have the legislative branch, and then we certainly have the judicial branch, making up our 3 branches of government. This was the realm that we were working in for many years, many decades. This is where we would spend our time talking about the issues affecting golf. Over the last few years, what has changed? Well, those branches have moved aside because of the quagmire that has happened inside Congress, inside the Beltway, and the agencies. So whether it's the EPA, whether it's the Department of Labor, whether it is the Department of OSHA compliance, those agencies, those administrators have taken over in terms of looking at the way they would interpret laws, the way that they would administer this. And so we have had to shift our focus. I think you just lost me there. Shift our focus to being more proactive with those agencies, the EPA, with the OSHA, with the Environmental Protection Agency. Let me get back to that where I started, and you'll see here where the U.S. golf industry now fits in. We are now bouncing back and forth and having to do a lot more with a lot less in terms of getting our word out. And so when you look at the ramifications of this, there's a few things that I want to leave you here with. That the legislative and the regulatory issues can and are having a profound impact on golf facilities. Protecting and defending golf facilities is paramount. Government decision makers can determine whether or not your doors will stay open in the future. And you may think that I am just hitting the fire alarm and the sky is falling. Believe me, I am a guy that the glass is half full. We are going to figure this out. But I can tell you, having just participated in the PGA merchandise show in Orlando a few weeks ago and talking with individuals there, and then coming off of our show in San Diego just last week and talking to individuals that are saying, you know what, with this water issue, with this one, we are no longer going to be able to make ends meet. And this is happening today in terms of closing the doors of some of our facilities, key facilities that will help grow the game or could help grow the game in the future. Must be highly engaged. We must be highly engaged in educating and influencing decision makers. That is all of our jobs as a team. We do not need the GCSA brand, the PGA brand, etc. to do that. We are the golf industry. They don't care who is who. They want to know what is the message, how does it affect them, why, as a congressman or a woman, should I be listening to you? Therefore, we formed the We Are Golf Coalition almost 7 years ago. We came together, the PGA of America, the CMAA, the owners, GCSAA, and we said we've got to get on the same page with our messaging. So here today, I want to just share some highlights and some successes as it relates to this coalition. Since that time, we've added the USGA is now a component of that, along with the PGA Tour, and then we have added the U.S. Golf Manufacturers Council, who represents the sticks and the balls group.
Day. I think it's important to make sure that people know what golf is doing in a positive light in all the different arenas that golf is involved in.
Every year there's new members of Congress and we have to meet with new people and give them the basic overview of the golf industry.
I saw something the other day that surprised me even. 9 out of 10 people that play, they're playing on a public golf course. The price of golf for those people is like $26 per person.
Doesn't matter your ability, doesn't matter your gender, doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, golf's for everyone.
Since I've been involved on the PGA Tour, the amount of money that's been donated to charity, I think last year or 2 years ago we went over $1 billion, which is very impressive. And it makes us all feel very good on the PGA Tour when we're out there competing.
Almost all the money that gets raised inside of golf goes to causes outside of golf. It goes to the Cancer Society or diabetes or the Humane Shelter, all great causes. So it's really a community asset.
Well, I think golf is really a great way to grow, especially through the first tee, through life skills and through golf skills.
The First Tee of Silicon Valley has given me so many amazing opportunities that taught me more about life. With all of these new tools, I feel prepared for the new phase in my life this fall, when I will be attending college at Harvard and playing collegiate golf.
Children learn what they live. It reminds me so much of what we try to do with First Tee. Those 9 core principles that we try to get young people to live by. And if they live by those principles, that is what they will learn in the in life.
Members of Congress realize what a great opportunity this is, and we need to be capitalizing on it. A lot of them play golf, as you can imagine, big fans.
It's not only exercise and fitness, but it employs a lot of folks. It creates a lot of business in the community, so it's important to help people understand the impact of golf all across the nation.
The economic impacts are very pertinent. How successful and steady the small business community is in their community. Golf is a game not just for golfers, but for everybody. It contributes to society in general.
So our message is pretty simple, and it took some work to do. You just can't go in and advocate and say golf is good because we said so. You've got to spend money in order to collect data. I know Colorado is working on their next economic impact study that I think would be beneficial for you all as you go and advocate at your state golf day. But when we walk in to Congressman Clyburn and when we walk into other offices, our message is simple. This is a $70 billion industry. It is impacting almost 2 million jobs in America. It is protecting almost 2 million acres of green space that are needed in communities, and it is creating almost $4 billion in charity impact annually to communities. And then lastly, when we go to National Golf Day, come on, baby, you might have to start clicking for me here. When we go to National Golf Day on May 18th this year, we've changed our focus. It used to be the allied golf organizations would go and we'd have a fairly small group. That now is changing. The invitation is out to everyone. And so we would love to invite those of you that would like to participate in National Golf Day as we fly in to share this message. And in particular, you could go to your folks here in Colorado and mention and talk to them about the issues affecting the game here in your state. I want to leave you as I conclude with an opportunity that I feel is important. If you could click the next slide for me. And that is figuring out how you do this on a local level. Again, as we come back to teamwork, as we come back to getting in on the same page. GCSA looked at this and we said, you know, how can we do this not just from the national platform with We Are Golf, how can we get the message at a grassroots level? And so we have established a grassroots ambassador program. The goal is fairly simple. Obviously, it begins with collecting data. In this case, a lot of environmental data, a lot of science that demonstrates the benefits of golf as it relates to that arena. And once we have that, we're now creating different coalitions and groups of individuals, providing them the training and then ultimately giving them the tools to advocate. We have used our environmental profile project that looks at all golf courses in the U.S., from water to nutrient use to pesticide use. So we have the data to back up when a congressman says that, you know what, don't want to listen to you because golf, just all they do is spray chemicals and it's really not good for the community. We can go in there with science that backs up how we manage how we manage the land. Once they have that information, we then, as I said, put together a goal, a coalition, a group of ambassadors. We set a lofty goal of aligning a GCSA member with every single member of Congress. That's 535 congressional districts. We set out not to just do this overnight. We wanted the right individuals, so we went about it very methodically. To date, we have over 230 individuals that have signed up to be grassroots ambassadors. They're getting the training that they need, and this video kind of depicts the program. As you watch this, think about what you could be doing here in Colorado collectively as a team in and around these efforts.
The GCSAA Government Relations Grassroots Ambassador Program's goal is to match a member of GCSAA with each member of Congress.
If we're not at the table, then we're going to be on the menu. We've got to be out front, telling our message, giving people the facts.
But if we're not speaking on our own behalf, who is? We need to stand up for what we believe is right and tell people the good story about golf, good story about our profession, the fact that we're stewards of the environment, all these things. If we don't say them, nobody will, and our message won't get out.
At the end of the day, the goal of this program is to make sure that all members of Congress know what the industry's, what the profession's position is on a particular issue, all 50 states.
The Grassroots Ambassadors build strong relationships with Congress and are the go-to people for lawmakers and their staff on golf course management issues.
It's time that we become a leader in the messaging and getting out amongst not even the golf community. Here we are in Washington, D.C., and meeting with all our elected officials.
It really shows the members of Congress and their aides that we're here to really speak for ourselves and really promote our industry, to really get our word out to everybody and show that we're all here working together across the entire United States.
Being an ambassador is a reasonable time commitment, requiring only 2 hours a month, 1 hour for an educational webinar and another to communicate with your paired representative.
Being involved is pretty easy. It takes a little bit of time and it takes a little bit of homework. Fortunately, GCSAA gives us the information and the background we need in order to fight these battles for ourselves.
Your voice matters. The most important thing an ambassador can do is share their stories with members of Congress. Grassroots ambassadors are advocates for the industry and can affect change.
It's awesome to see the power in just having someone hear you that isn't involved in the golf industry.
Promoting yourselves and promoting the golf industry is key to where we move into the future.
We've got to get to the table. We've got to be united. We have to show numbers. We have to show credibility.
It's growing rapidly. Hopefully here in a couple of years we have one ambassador with every member of Congress.
For more information on how to become a...
So you can see, well, I just went a little too fast there, but this represents all 535 congressional districts. The goal, as I mentioned, is to have every single one of these colored with individuals like Zach Bauer, who's sitting over here at this table, who is shown on the video, who has become a grassroots ambassador that is getting the training that he needs on the issues here in Colorado and is able to go and meet with your senators and representatives and talk about the benefits of golf here in this state. I think it's imperative to do versus a shotgun approach to these issues. I'm going to skip through some of the training and the things that go on. I think that was depicted in the video, and I want to close with an example of how this works. In the state of Georgia, and if you look in the center of the screen here, you'll see a superintendent there by the name of Anthony Williams. He worked at Stone Mountain Resort, was employed by the Marriott Corporation, and he's standing next to Congressman Johnson. Well, Congressman Johnson, a year and a half ago, had nothing to do with golf. In fact, if you mention the word golf, he would go in the opposite direction. He was adamantly against it. It is a rich white man's sport, and so he had nothing to do with it. Well, Anthony, as a grassroots ambassador, understood that, you know what, it's a lot more than that. While we still have some challenges in and around diversity, there's no doubt about that. There are a lot of other benefits that are going on that Congressman Johnson didn't know about. And I'm sure each one of you in your ongoings and your conversations with neighbors, with individuals have had the same conversation about golf and its negative perception. And so Anthony didn't give up. He started calling Congressman Johnson's office. He would get the intern, and the intern would hear him out and then maybe take a note or two. But Congressman Johnson never called him back. Months went by, and Anthony didn't give up. He continued to call and then go to his office. Pretty soon, I think persistence paid off, and he was able to get a quick stand-up meeting with Congressman Johnson. He then pursued an invitation to invite Congressman Johnson just for a few moments out to the golf course. Just drive by and let me show you a few things that we're doing. He did that, and next thing you know, you can see a few weeks later, he returned to the course with entire staff. He's holding a Bluebird box. Once he understood that this course was Audubon certified, that they were doing field trips with kids and youth and demonstrating to them the benefits that derive from having that green space in their community, what they were doing in teaching youth about integrity, about the game, what they were doing to promote fitness, what they were doing to raise money for charity for the local community, what they were doing for homeless shelters as an organization, the fact that this wasn't about Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson. The fact of the matter was it was about the wait staff that were setting the table. It was about the superintendent and the laborers and others that were trying to earn a living and to pay taxes, etc. And as soon as he understood that that was a small business and it wasn't about some player getting millions and millions of dollars to play the game, the light bulb clicked, and now he's holding his charity events at the golf course. That's how this works. One congressman and one congresswoman at a time. But we cannot do that alone with a single Zach Bauer or an Anthony Williams. All of us need to become aware of the issues, and we need to be team players in order to make this work. You can see our list here. It's not just GCSAA attempting to do this. There's 10 entities, and the list can probably go on. But utilizing our university researchers, our coalition partners, industry partners, et cetera, all to gather this information and embark upon this grassroots ambassador program. So in conclusion, as we're at the top of the hour, I want to remind you and hopefully have you take away these key points in and around leadership. We must be focused on a common purpose. Our energy, everything that we need or should be doing needs to be scrutinized. I would encourage you as a state to look at all of your initiatives, similar to what we've done on the national level. Find out which ones are working, which ones aren't. Focus more on those that are working. Share that responsibility. This Junior Golf Alliance and program, tremendous. I would encourage everybody to share in that responsibility to get youth, to get juniors to join and participate in this great game. And then lastly, figure out a way that you can become a part of the greater good because the whole certainly is greater than the sum of its parts. I'll end with a quote that I love. I know it's somewhat overused, but from Henry Ford, "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success." I wish you success. I know you will find it. You are doing the right things. If there's anything that we can do better, please let us know. We have skin in this game. We want to make it work. I'm confident that we will. We are seeing success. If you look at what is happening in this game right now, it's tremendous. I know we're talking a lot about the negative side and what we need to do, whether it's with millennials, the environment, etc. But when you turn on that television and you watch over 600,000 people attend the Phoenix Waste Management Open, and you look at what is going on in this game in terms of viewership, in terms of people getting excited about this game, we have a great future in store for us. Thank you for your time. I always enjoy being with you.